So here, as we begin the section of the Aeneid, Book 4, where Dido hears that Aeneas is going to leave, lines 305 through 330 here. It's her response, or the first thing she says to him, as she kind of like hunts him down through the city. And the part right before this, you take AP, I'll get to that part, but it's she's compared to a like raging bacchant, somebody who is just absolutely frenzied, um, absolutely like insanely possessed with anger. And when she approaches Aeneas, she still has that rage to her. A bit of an unfair thing that we see with women in the ancient world is a lot of the comparison to stuff like bacchants, people who like are able to be driven absolutely insane. In this case, by love. So anyway, Dido is kind of the victim of that right now, and we can kind of begin with the Latin here. I'll zoom in this way. Dissimulare tiem sperasti perfide tantum posse nefas tacitusque mea decedere terra, nec te noster amor, nec te data dextra quondam nec moritura tenets crudeli funere Dido. Moritura is a big word there. It's like she has knowledge of her own fate already. Quin etiam hiberno moliri sidere classem et mediis properas aquilonibus ire peraltum crudelis. Quid si non arva aliena domus quid notas peteres et Troia antiqua maneret. Troia per undosum peteretur classibus aequor mene fugis. Per ego has lacrimas dextram quetuam te, quandam aliud mihi niam miserae nihil ipsa reliqui, per connubia nostra per inceptos Aemenaios, si bene quid de te merui fuit aut tibi quiquam dolce meum, miserere domus labentis et distam oro, si quis ad hoc precibus locus exvementem. We'll stop there for now. And we'll draw a line. That way I know to read again when we get down there. Okay. So remember, she's just first speaking, and you see dissimulare etiam sperasti perfide tantum. So we can zoom in here. The asti here is actually avisti, and you see the isti is your perfect ending. And so you have a do you hope, did you hope, sorry, in the perfect. So and then what you need to do here is, since we know this is our main verb, we have to kind of label. We have infinitives, we have an accusative, a tantum here. Perfide is an interesting word. It is vocative. Talking to Aeneas, a perfidos is not a word that you use for somebody you like. It means one who is faithless, but I enjoy the translation my AP gave, a filthy man-pig. If Dido is yelling at an Aeneas that she does not like, she's going to use an insulting word like perfide. It could also just kind of mean like wretched or something like that, like a wretched person. You'll see that she uses it on herself when she laments later. Anyway, tantum is actually going to end up going with nefas down here, and then posse, your other infinitive, is going to help you translate this. So, indeed, did you hope to be able to cover up, dissimulare, to cover up, to be able to cover up such a great sin, such a great wrong. And then the que here, and you. So you're gapping your you nominative. So you silently. Tacitus is agreeing with the gapped you. Tacitus, silently did you hope to decedere mea terra, to leave from my land. A nice ablative of separation there. Necte nosteramor, necte data dextra condam, nec moratura tenet crudeli funere Dido. First of all, anaphora, neck, right? But I think that what you need to do here is really get your head back around Cicero. If you remember how in Catilinum started, we get the rhetorical questions, and then you get the anaphora of a negative. There it was nihil, nihil, nihil. Here we have neck, and even the same kind of words. Does it not hold you instead of move you? It's kind of the same structure, though. But te at the beginning, you're accusative. You have series of accusatives and nominatives. Accusative, nominative. And then we get a nominative moratura going with Dido. We don't need the accusative, we can gap it, but then we have an ablative, crudeli funere, and then our verb is tenet. So, does our love not hold you? Does the right hand, having been given formerly, not hold you? Does Dido, about to die with a cruel death, not hold you? I find this line very interesting because she seems to know that he's leaving, regardless of her protest, and also seems to already know what she's going to do about it. As she says, Dido, about to die with a cruel death. I don't know if that is a thing that within her character, or if it's Virgil kind of putting that onto Dido's person, so that you, the reader, can be on the same page as her, because this is a very famous story, and when you read the Aeneid, you're supposed to already know how she dies and that whole situation. And so I think perhaps it was just Virgil's way of acknowledging that you already know what's going on. Anyway, we continue. I hate Quinn. It's the worst word in the Latin language, but there it is. Thankfully here, I think it just means why. So we have why, etiam, even, and then the even kind of goes with the hiberno, which goes with the sidere. Moliri is your infinitive. Clausem's an accusative here. And then you kind of gap up your main verb down here, properas, but as we et mediis goes with aquilonibus, ire is another infinitive, and then per altum. Crudelis is another vocative, and it, like the last one, agrees with the you, referring to Aeneas. So why do you hurry, properas? Why do you hurry, molire, to prepare the fleet? Why do you hurry to prepare the fleet, even in the winter star? Now, that's a very interesting thing to say, like an interstar. So the Romans obviously use seasons. They have words for them, but they also told like time of year with like what stars were in the sky and which ways with constellations. And they also in the second half of this, they like whatever wind was blowing would indicate some kind of seasonal change or something. So the stars and the wind are being used here to talk about the time. So if we have why do you hurry to prepare your fleet in the winter star, even in the winter star, or even with the winter star? You can use the with there, that's fine. And then referring to it's just in the winter. And you hurry to go through the deep being the sea, through the sea, in the middle of the aquilonius, the aquilo winds. Those are the howling winds that the winter brings. And so not the time for sailing. The Romans probably would protest at sailing during this time, but remember our last passage, Mercury was like, all right, let's go. And so he's pretty gung-ho about leaving. All right, quid, si non arva aliana domosque, ignotas peteres. So get your nice C clauses here through peteres, and that actually that keeps going. So let's undo and put that here because the at keeps it going. And anyway, so if You were not seeking foreign fields and unknown homes. Domos is an interesting word because it's feminine, but it looks second declension-y. And if ancient Troy were remaining, in other words, like if you weren't having to go find a new home, and if Troy still stood, and then it says Troia per undosum peteretur. She's asking a question. Would Troy be sought through the sea? Undosum, of course, goes with Icor. I'm sorry, with ships. So she says, would you be going home if home still existed? So yeah, that's an interesting question. Oh, by the way, the quid, sorry, I kind of skipped it because it's hard to translate. It says why, but it doesn't actually, like, go with any of the next part of the question, so it actually should be, like, almost like a why question mark, and then you start over again. So why? And then you say, if this were, so if you were not doing that. Anyway, so quid is just why. Alright, Mene Fugus. Do you flee me? Uh-oh. Is it me? Per ego. Per ego is interesting because per takes an accusative and then ego is a nominative, so you have to, like, kind of do a little hat bracket and then goes through Lacrimas. Actually goes even further because of the que, so whoa, all the way over there. Alright. So, I, through these tears and your right hand... Te, the accusative. We have to keep that in mind as well. So we have our ego, our subject, te, our accusative. We're still expecting a verb. We have the giant preposition. Then we have a parenthetical, which means that that's not going to feed us our verb or anything that goes with our clause. So we have to do a little bit of a side note here. All right. So let's do some labeling within this. This is since. This is just the kind of a subordinate conjunction. Accusative for alia. We have a little dative here. Yam's an adverb. Miserai, also dative, going with mihi. Nihil is going to also be accusative, going with aliud. Ipsa is nominative, and reliqui is our verb. Now the I ending means it's first person, but if since Dido's talking, she's feminine, and that ipsa can be going with the I. So I, myself, is our subject. Since I, myself, have left nothing else for poor me. She's like, man, I put literally everything I had into this relationship. Is it completely true? No, I mean, she's got a kingdom. But I guess to her it seems like she's left nothing else for herself. She's giving everything she has to him. Not literally, again, she has like a kingdom and a palace and all that stuff. But I think maybe mentally, emotionally, that's probably true. Alright. Per conubia nostra, through our marriage. Marriage? Uh-oh, Aeneas might be shocked to hear that word. Per inceptos hymenaios, through the marriage rites having been begun. Ooh, man, that whole line is kind of like probably a shocker to Aeneas. Notice, we still have not gotten our verb, have we? We just can keep going of our ego te. Let's see if it's in the next line. Nope, there's a C clause. We got a bracket. Si bene quid. It's aliquid because it's after a C and or nisi numine. All the alis fade away. So we have si aliquid. That's going to be our accusative. De te is a preposition. Merui. There we go. Verb. Okay. Fuit aut tibi quicquam. Dolcemeum. So, this is not part of our ego te clause either. This is like a little side note, because quicquam actually starts a clause, but it should start at fuit. Or you can take that out and say or if. Yeah, I think that's actually more it. So I think that you just kind of keep that C going all the way through May because of the out. I'm sorry. The leakage of fluid threw me off for a second. Yeah, so I'll translate through fluid. So if Um, if I deserve anything from you, if I deserve anything well from you, or if I have earned anything well of you, from you, or if quicquam, something, meum dulce, something sweet of mine, or if there is something sweet of mine for you, in other words, or if you have something sweet, something of mine that is sweet, if you appreciate anything about me or my things, or stuff like that. So it's like if like we've had any good times. That's kind of what these last couple lines are saying. But we have a nice dative of possession here, which is kind of cool, because we have a verb to be, we have our subject and a dative, so that's working. So yeah. So anyway, we kind of have this part here, which goes with the C clause. So if like I've deserved anything well from you, or if anything of mine is sweet to you, I like that, is dear to you, miserere, have mercy on my fourth declension houses, that are labentising, with that long es thing going on. Have mercy on my falling houses and me myself. Gap your me. Notice how it's feminine. That's how you're supposed to know that. Anyway, and then oro, finally, the verb that gives us our first person and our te, second person accusative. So I was your subject, there's your o ending, so you're happy about that one. And then te is your direct object. I beg you. After all that time, I beg you. So for the sake of neatness, we're going to erase that. Okay. I beg you through these tears and through your right hand, and then all of that, right? All right. If some place is for prayers, if there is some place for prayers, ad hoc kind of means like up to now. Up to now, if there's any place for prayers, exve mentem, it means like change your mind. She's telling him not to go. But exve mentem, nice imperative there. We had another imperative, miserere, an infinitive or an imperative that is in infinitive form. But exve mentem, change your mind. And then the second half of this passage. Te propter, libicae gentes nomadum quae tyranni, oder infansi tirii, quae propter eundem extinctus pudor, et qua sola sidera adibam fama prior, qui me moribundam deseris hospes, qui solum nomen quoniam de coniuge restat, quid moror an mea pygmaliondum moenia frater destruat aut captam ducat Gaetulius Iarbus, saltem si qua mihi de te suscepta fuiset ante fugam soboles, si quis mihi parvulus aula luderet Aeneas, qui te tamen ora referet, non equidem omni no capta ac deserta fidere. Oof. This is some intense stuff right here. The first part's not so much, but man, it gets rough quickly. Te propter, because of you. It's a little bit of a backwards preposition. Because of you. I don't think it has to do with straying from a sidewalk, but the Libyan tribes and the kings of the nomads, odere. Odere is oderunt, because that word only appears in the perfect. So remember odi et amo. Why is it odi? It's not I have hated and I currently love. It is I hate and I love. But it looks perfect, but it's always present. So, because of you, the Libyan tribes and the kings of the nomads hate me. Infancy Tyri, hostile to the Tyrians, Tyrian enemies. Te propter, because of you. Not just you, because of the same you. You, the same guy that made these guys hate me. Extinctus pudor, my shame has been destroyed. Pudor is like your honor, your shame, the thing that gives you a sense of shame. Et qua sola sidera adibam fama prior, and my previous fame, my previous reputation, extincta, as would be the gap there from here, your verb. But this qua sola sidera adibam has a post-positioned antecedent. The antecedent of qua is actually fama. So it's a post-positioned antecedent that comes afterwards. But you have an ablative. Sola is also ablative. If you scan, you can see the sola being ablative, with the O, of course, also being long by nature, which is kind of interesting. But anyway, that make sure you know that it doesn't go with sidera. Sidera means stars, and adibam means to approach, to go to. But notice the first person there. My reputation, and then it says, by which alone I approached the stars. This has to do with greatness gaining immortality. You can think of somebody like Hercules being a constellation or something if you want to have an example of that happening. But this is not an uncommon phrase. Horace uses it to say that he hopes that his poetry allows him to hit his head on the stars. In other words, like to be glorified such that you're up in the sky. This is a common phrase for somebody aspiring. Anyway, yeah, this is intense because she sees her reputation that is now ruined as the thing that was going to make her great, and she blames Aeneas. And she thought it was worth it, I guess, with the love affair. She was like, it's worth it to be with Aeneas, but now that he's leaving, she's like, but I've given you everything I have. And the things that she thought, I guess, were her biggest virtues, her pudor, her fama, those things are both apparently destroyed because of Aeneas, so she says. Cui me moribunda deseris hospes. To whom, or for what? It's a dative of reference, because deseris. Do you leave me moribundam, kind of dying? You can see the mori there. I was making sure it wasn't like a future, and it's just like somebody who's dying. So, for whom do you leave me dying? And this is where she kind of throws in a noun in apposition here. So we get some. This is nominative, hospes. It goes with that you, but it means a stranger. So like she calls him a stranger. For whom or for what do you, a stranger, leave me dying? Remember, these guys were going out for 6 months, a year, like they're hardly strangers. But she calls him a stranger, and then she explains in the next one, which is kind of like, oh man. So quoniam, it means since, and you have to kind of imagine it going at the beginning here, but you have to kind of mention hoc solum nomen first, so that's why it leaked in there. This name alone, this is all nominative neuter. De conjugate, restat, remains from our marriage. Oh man, only the word stranger remains from their marriage. She's basically like, our marriage is such in shambles that we're strangers to each other. Remember, Aeneas probably was like, we're not married, what are you talking about? But yeah, this is a very interesting situation where you feel super bad for Dido. Quid moror? Why do I literally delay, but maybe stay? Like she's like, why am I? What reason do I have to even stay here anymore? So yeah, like why do I delay? Whether this is where you have to kind of do some labeling. I'm sorry, I'll do some in red here. So Pygmalion goes with frater as nominatives. Mea goes with moenia. The doom kind of starts right here, and then your verbs right here, and then you get another doom clause. This is not going to be like a complete sentence. This is going to be just a clause, but we're talking, so that's something that's kind of okay. The whole thing is kind of your sentence, and this is what happens when you get like quoting. Is that and even in English, maybe your sentence structures aren't as nice as like a narrator would be. So yeah, whether my brother Pygmalion or Pygmalion, my brother, destroys my walls, mea moenia, the accusatives, or Gaetulius Iarbas, your nominative, leads me, having been captured, and I think the idea would be like into marriage, because earlier in book 4, Iarbas is the one who wanted to marry Dido, but was jealous that Aeneas got to hang out with her, and so I think that the intention there would be to lead her into marriage. Yeah, Gaetulian Iarbas leads me, having been captured. So she's like, why do I stay? Like this is going to happen. Like I just, it's like it's kind of like I'm just like waiting until these guys like either destroy my city or capture me. And these guys are, of course, Pygmalion's her brother. That's going to that story is going to come out more in the Lament of Dido. So kind of hang with why he's important. And Iarbas, if you read the English of book 4, or if you're in AP and you're reviewing, Iarbas you've already read a little bit about, but he's kind of a North African leader who wanted to marry Dido, but Dido kind of refused him. And then when Aeneas comes along and she like accepts him, Iarbas is kind of mad, feeling like it was unfair. He was kind of like mistreated. But anyway, that's kind of like male upper class privilege there. Anyway, the next part is something where you have to draw some arrows again. So let's start doing that. So you have a C clause. Qua is actually aliqua, and that's feminine. And to save us some time, I'm not even going to explain. It's going to go down to saboles, which is also nominative, feminine, singular. It's a little bit weird. While I'm down to saboles, I'm going to just put ante fuga. But then dete. So skepta fuis, that's one verb form. That's your nice periphrastic verb form there. And perfect passive. So if any child, any offspring, had been conceived for me from you before your flight. Oof, she's like, man, if we had a kid, that's weird. And then Sultan is like at least. So at least if this had happened. So at least if any offspring had been conceived for me from you before flight. If, and then here we have another aliquis. So if any parvulus, and then that doesn't go with aula, that's kind of odd. It goes all the way down to Aeneas. So any little Aeneas, little version of Aeneas, if you will. If some little version of Aeneas, luderet, were playing in my halls, for me, mihi, hu te tamen ore referat, so we get our subject, our accusative here. Tamen just means still, got our ablative there and our verb here. Okay, so who would, notice the subjunctive for would, who would bring you back in his face, in other words, like remind me of you, still, tamen still, who would still bring you back in his face. Non equidem omnino capta ac deserta videre. I would not seem, videre. Notice video in the passive means to seem. So omnimoto means entirely. It's kind of it looks like omne, but it's just entirely. It's the adverb form. I would not seem entirely to have, maybe notice your essays here, your gapped essays with capta and deserta infinitive. I would not seem to have been entirely captured and deserted. That's kind of the depressing end of it. I would not seem entirely to have been captured and deserted. Captured, maybe deceived. Like, captured being like my whole mind and everything like taken away from me. So maybe not capture is a very literal translation. I don't like it. Deceived, taken in. But yeah, this is her anger speech right here to Aeneas, and I don't know how she imagined this ending. I mean, I think Aeneas told her kind of like the plan in book 3. He pretty much accounted how everybody was like, you have to go to Italy, you have to go to Italy. So I don't think it's not without warning. He was going to leave. I don't think it was going to be so abrupt. Maybe Dido thought of a much more like smooth transition, like in the spring or summer in the next year. But to just kind of abruptly leave in the middle of the winter, I think is not what she had in mind, which is why she's so frenzied. Also, we have to always keep in mind when Dido talking is that she's been kind of stabbed with Cupid's arrow, and therefore she's going to be completely unreasonable. And this is not her fault. This is how Cupid's arrow works. You can imagine Apollo kind of relentlessly chasing Daphne for no reason at all other than he can't help it. And that is the whole idea of attraction by Cupid's arrow, is that it's not supposed to be logical. It's not supposed to be good. This is not good love. It's obsessive love. And you can see Dido here not taking the news of departure well. And you can see the hint at the very top, actually a couple hints in this passage, of the utter insanity, moritura, she's about to die. So in her Cupid possessed mind, there's only being together or death. There's nothing in between. It's not supposed to be a completely realistic depiction. It's a character in a story. However, we do have to keep in mind that the supernatural power that Cupid possesses has that effect on a character in a story, and it's supposed to be an exaggerated form of kind of the love you feel, and you see here what goes through somebody's head in the immediacy of a breakup, except exaggerated times 1,000. So kind of intense. And I hope that this helps. And notice also my hints that are highlighted in red that are going to lead you to the final passage of the Latin 3 sequence of passages, and that is Dido's lament. And on that I will leave you.